Hello, this is Dale. This is Keith Heck, and I'm joined by Mike Jones. Hello, Mike Jones.
Hey, Dale Matthews. What's going on?
You can see over my other shoulder is the Society of Professional Journalists. Okay, we're a member, and we are professionals, and we do journalism, and we're also a society. It's pretty exciting.
And we're additionally part of society, too.
We are that, although a sometimes abused, as you can see here, he's abusing me in this question and answer session. So I bet you will explain to you why he feels that he must abuse me, because I'm asking him a question he'd prefer not to answer, and I have the answers anyway, and he doesn't like that.
Uh-huh.
See, now it's getting to the point where if we have videotape, he hates that we have videotape. So,
well, maybe being up on the topic. I mean, it doesn't seem real, a real big deal. And, well, of course, if I start talking about it, I would give away too much of what's going on in this video.
You can't give away too much of what's going on, especially when your lower third is missing. Okay, so we're going to start with a little bit of the past, just a little bit. We're going to go back. We're going to roll back the time machine to 1 month ago, when the IV Airport Advisory Board, sounds really exciting, doesn't it? When they gathered, and a bunch of people packed in the room in Illinois Valley at Cave Junction at the airport, and they had questions about what the heck is going on with Manor Development, this outfit that was the contributor to Simon Harris' campaign, and then they're going to build drones. So there were people there that, well, I don't think we should build drones because I don't like drones in general. And other people were, what's this about building condominiums on the airport? Airports can't have condominiums on them. And just to let you know the kind of person that Larry Graves is, he finally answered, what is an airport condominium? And people were like, oh, fascinating. What is an airport condominium? Well, now, I've since looked this up, and I can't find any confirmation of what he said. He's that kind of guy, in my opinion. An airport condominium apparently is a place where airplanes, it's just like a regular human condominium, except only airplanes are in the little condominium. Now, I don't know if they've got little drink tables and a little refrigerator for the airplane or whatever, but it's not for humans to be in,
right?
Is what he was trying to say. It's for airplanes. Airplane.
Yes. It's a glorified hangar.
It's a glorified hangar. Why not just say hangar?
Yeah.
Okay, but he did go on.
Why not just say high-end hangars or something?
But he did go on to explain that when people fly in, that they can stay there much like a motel. Well, that's what we're talking about, aren't we?
Well, okay. So it has, it's got a place to sleep or something in addition to where you store your airplane.
Doesn't that seem, well, okay. Maybe it's just me. It just seems like you're opening up a motel.
Okay.
On the airport.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So anyway, we're going to roll it back, and I'm trying to ask him a question. Everybody had questions. As a matter of fact, a number of people last month were asking the same question that I did, and they weren't getting any answers either. And the questions, you'll see what the questions, I just had two questions. Not trying to dominate the conversation, but when it came my time, I asked, may I ask two questions? Yes, you may. Okay, so here
now, hang on.
No,
here they are. You do that because I have. Oh, whoa! I have loaded these in order.
Yes, sir. With the oldest one first, I hope.
Okay. I have loaded these in order from top down. So are you talking about questions to Larry Graves at the meeting?
Yes, but there are two videos that have that, and this one is...
So just give me what I need to know. If these are questions to Larry Graves at the airport, I will load you that video, but it's not up right now because I put them in order that they came in the email. That's how I load them, because that's how you usually want them. So now while you cover me, I will go and get that.
Okay, so what's my problem with Larry Graves anyway? All right, so doesn't he do a wonderful job at the airport? Yes, for many things. And then we have a recording of him taking some guy apart because he says, I think I'm paying too much in rent. You F this and F that and F this. Hey, wait a minute. Okay. And I'm listening to the guy asking the questions. And the guy's not irritating. And the guy's not confronting him or anything. Just Larry just started going off on him like Keith Heck looks like he's doing here. And I mentioned this at a weekly business session. And Keith Heck's, I don't like that language. What? Well, you're F. I'm just saying F, just the letter F, which is worse. Me saying F or the guy that your employee that says the full word. Okay, so.
Okay, I'm ready. So
okay.
I'm assuming that these are the ones that are taking place where Cheryl Walker is also in the picture in this one. Is that the one you wanted to play first?
Yeah, well, there's 2 videos that have that, which is what I was trying to explain earlier.
Okay, give me the title that you want played first.
I can't see that anymore because I shut down that window that had all that information in it.
Okay. Airport Director Larry Graves faces.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There we go. Okay. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
Simon Hare's biggest contributor to his re-election campaign was Larry Osborne of Manor Development. Now, aside from using that to research whether Manor Development was appropriate for here, how would you avoid the mistakes of your research that you did in vetting them, fully vetting them for this project, since that didn't turn out so well? How would you avoid those errors?
How would I avoid the errors? Which errors in particular?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Which errors?
Yeah.
Okay, next question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, which errors? I mean, which errors just boggles the mind?
Okay, let me try to explain.
If I could just jump, if we're going to get into this kind of, we're not getting the question.
I asked the question, I'm just not going to get an answer. I know.
Well, it seems like a rhetorical question to me.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You must have some specific information that you're basing your question on.
They haven't paid anything. They were supposed to pay in January. They didn't pay in February. They didn't pay in March.
How is that an error in vetting?
Because it looks like the process that you went through to see whether or not they were reliable to come here to the airport and do these things hasn't turned out because they haven't. Aren't they in breach of contract?
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, next question. Next question. No, I have a next question. Thank you. So I think it was the next day after the commissioners voted on this, and by the way, Simon here never tried to recuse himself from that vote, even though Manor Development was one of its biggest contributors. The next day, I think it was.
To the question. You're framing everything he's saying.
Please don't interrupt him.
Just stick to the question.
Will I be allowed to ask a question without being interrupted?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I think it was the next day that you, Larry Graves, came to the commissioners after they had said that this was not going to cost the county anything and said that your staff, because they were going to be working so hard on Manor Development, needed a raise. Now, so one of the questions is, what have they been doing since that never happened? And 2, are you going to be, as a fiscal conservative, insisting that that money all be turned back?
Well, you have stated a factual error.
Okay.
I never said that any of my staff needed a raise.
Just on tape, but okay.
Okay, well, I believe that if you go back and review your own tape, you will discover that you are wrong.
I did just before coming here.
Okay?
Thank you.
I never said that any of the staff needed a raise. What I said was that we needed more man hours to operate the airports at the same rate.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I stand entirely corrected. You wanted them to get more money, but not necessarily a raise. I see the distinction there.
I wanted them to.
Next person.
Look at
these airports.
Thank you.
Next person.
These airports need more staff operating.
Finish explaining Larry, and we'll go on to the next question.
Yep, that's it. So typically, they don't understand the question. Why? I don't understand what you're talking about, Mr. Matthews.
Well, you know what? I mean, I think he understands the question. It's just that they don't want to listen. There has been no need for more hours to be worked because these people haven't even arrived. Not one blade of grass has been displaced because of Manor Development. So there's there's no need for these people to work more hours. So I don't really understand what. So hopefully, and you never know. I mean, this is the next question to ask: is has this raise begun?
Oh yes. No. What happened is the day after they took the vote, and we have that video. We always have the video. The day after they took the vote, with Simon here not recusing himself. You got to be quiet, Mr. Matthews. You're not supposed to say that. Okay. The day afterwards, he came in and he said, you know, a couple of our employees, they really have families and they need not a raise, they need more hours. What's the difference if they're working for the same salary and they have more hours? Twice as much. They're going to need twice as much time because all this work that we have to do with Manor development.
Yes, and I suppose on a technicality, it is not a raise in hourly
so I'm
rate.
corrected. Why they're getting more money?
Yes.
They're just not getting a raise. He didn't make it clear in the first place, but okay.
So now the next thing that is of importance is when he talked about this raise, is it very specifically because of the fact that they were going to be working more hours because of Manor development?
Perfect question. That's the question that should be asked. He said there were two things. One is they're working their tails off in general. Okay. No quantification of that at all. No proof, just his word. And they've got all this stuff coming up with Manor development. Two things.
Okay. Yes. So, you know, technically he would say, well, I guess it was, you know, we got I mean, this is the equivalent of somebody saying so after you produce the evidence. They could just say, well, yeah, I mean, I told you we're working our tails off here. What do you want?
This is one of those, again, one of those things which is like connect the dots. He comes in the next day after they take the vote and he says, we really need more money for our people. And we've got all this work ahead of us. And so we're really going to be working hard on this project and thousands of other projects. And so we're going to need more money. And you'll see the video for yourself.
Okay. No, next question.
Yes, sir.
What is the next video you need to have?
The next video it's the airport advisory board again.
Okay.
And tell me the title of that one so I can tell you if it's the right one or not.
Okay, let's see.
You're seeing the internal workings of our live show.
Yes. Manor development at airport. Walker insists instructions were issued without any decision to do so.
That's right. That's what she insists. That's the one.
Okay. All righty then. Here, you want to play it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here we go.
As I've mentioned, I speak with the folks at Manor Community Development.
He just moved. Sorry about that.
Quite often. And up until the beginning of April, had been trying to get them to perform and giving them every opportunity that I possibly could think of to make good on their contract with the county. And they had not done that as of the first part of April. So I made a brief presentation to the commissioners, made a recommendation that we take action. And so the commissioners decided to issue a notice of default to Manor Community Development. That went out on April 6th. Or the decision was made on the 6th, and it may have
decided in decision
shortly after that. But we gave Manor the official notice of default and gave them 30 days to perform fully on the contract, or it would be terminated.
This meeting that took place on April 6th, that was 3 weeks ago. Everybody knows I go to all the commissioners' meetings. What kind of meeting was that, and how was a vote taken to let this go on and on and on?
Are you talking about the executive session where
I don't know, you didn't say.
To issue a notice of default?
I don't know, you didn't say, you just said April 6th. And how do you take a vote in an executive session?
It was a decision. What I heard him say was that they had exercised the options on the lease
How did they do that?
by sending out the notice that's required in the lease.
How did they meet in a quorum to make that decision? It's illegal for them to do that unless they're in a quorum and it's open to the public. It's clear to see. It's part of the law. Talk with Wally Hicks. I have.
Okay. Well, wait. Let me. I think I can address the core of your issue, and that is there is no commissioner decision needed or required in order to issue a notice of default.
That doesn't matter. That's not what he said.
It's a private lease. It's a contractual requirement that they perform. They did not perform. We gave them extra time to get their act together and to try to do it, and they didn't. So I said to the commissioners, I think we should issue a letter of default. And they said, okay, we agree. And then because we were being addressed by their legal counsel, the only appropriate channel for communication of that notice of default is from our legal counsel back to their legal counsel. And that's what.
So just to follow up, Mr. Chair, are you saying that on April 6th, there was an executive session where they decided, they didn't take a vote, they decided as a quorum?
No, we did not decide as a quorum.
He just said you decided.
I would think the news would be if they had not exercised the terms of the lease, that would be an action, whereas there was no action taken today on it. So.
There was an action taken.
Two questions for you, Commissioner Heck. One is, on April 6th, the commissioners gave instructions to Wally Hicks to write a letter to Manor Development.
We went over this earlier.
Yeah, I'm asking Mr. Heck, thank you. And so, Mr. Heck, how did he get those instructions from the board?
Well, apparently, I don't know the detail of the conversations, but apparently you've already had the conversation, you've already been told, so I'm not.
Well, is it all right if I ask you anyway? How did he get the instructions?
That's part of the stipulation.
You prefer not to answer?
Okay,
prefer not to answer, I get it.
So, Mike, it's part of the stipulation. What does that mean?
Huh.
What stipulation is part of the stipulation?
Well, you know what? I mean, I kind of understand it. Larry Graves was saying that, you know, that they apparently didn't need a vote. They didn't need a decision, you know, that type of decision from the board in order to issue the letter of default. And quite frankly, if I was running an airport, I would hate if I had to go to them to continue to do my job.
No problem.
Which would be if the rents are supposed to be paid to me, then I would, yes. Right.
All right. So no problem with that. I have no problem with that. But what this is a pattern. So take me apart. You know, it's okay. This is a pattern where they get together in executive session.
I'm not doing that.
No, I mean, if anybody can, you guys out in the audience can. They get together in executive session and they make decisions. They're not allowed to make decisions in executive session. They can't do that. They have, in order for a quorum of the county commissioners to make a decision, they have to take a vote. They can't just say, what's the consensus of our, well, I think that we should do the following things. This is an important issue about whether or not to send this letter to them. And so they're required to leave executive session, invite the public in, and then take a vote, or take it to the Ann Basker on Wednesday and take a vote. They're not allowed to make decisions behind the scenes without us being there. That's part of the core of what these laws are about.
Here's the thing. I personally think that there was a mistake made on the part of Larry Graves of saying the word decision.
Twice, yes.
Right. And because it may well be that just as a function of his job, I mean, I'm sure they don't have to have a meeting with the commissioners and have a vote taken before they issue a notice of default to somebody who's behind on the rent of their hangar. I mean, that would be ludicrous.
No, they
if
probably
that were the case.
Now, this is a much higher profile case, and this really upset about it. And so this is the first time that we've heard anything about it at this airport board meeting, and it had been 3 weeks since they went ahead and sent out the letter. So one would think that they would tell everybody, because there's 3 weekly business sessions that went by since then with people who would like to know what's happening.
Yes, and I don't think that they listen. They don't want to tell anybody what's going on. This is an embarrassment.
That's my point.
that's the other thing. They're not going to go and telegraph every move that they make.
They are supposed to. They're required to tell us what they're doing.
No. You're missing my point.
Yeah.
Larry Graves, as I said before, he doesn't come to the board and say, hey, listen, Joe Schmo's behind on his rent.
Yeah.
I need to issue him he just does it. It's like he said
this time. He did go to them this time. Now, he probably went to them this time because of the political ramifications.
Yeah, maybe.
He does. He apparently does have the power to do that but he did go to them. And what Cheryl's saying is that they gave instructions to Wally Hicks. How did the board of commissioners give instructions to Wally Hicks? This is my question. If they gave him instructions, how did they do that? Well, she's saying we didn't make a decision to do that. What?
Yeah.
No, wait. You had to make a decision or you couldn't have given him the instructions.
You know what? Listen, I'll tell you, I think this is a desire. You want to catch them on a technicality. I think the bigger thing is that they're actually doing this, and thank God, that they're finally going to send a letter of default to these people who are only 5 months behind on their rent. For crying out loud.
Okay. So my apologies to you. I think you're missing my point. Only my point.
Okay.
And that is, they do this on a constant basis. They make decisions and they don't tell anybody about it. They don't actually take a vote. They don't hold their hands up and they don't get recorded. They are required to do that under state law. They're required to do that out in the public. They're required to tell us what's happening. It's not okay for them to make decisions and then claim later that we didn't make any decisions. That's ludicrous.
Yeah, but
it's not about Manor development. It's about the process.
Okay, but let's say Larry says, hey, what do you think we ought to do about this? Do you think we ought to finally send a letter of default to them? And the board goes, yeah, I think you probably ought to do that. So Larry goes, yeah, you're probably right about that. Let's go ahead and do that. And then Larry goes to the county council and says, hey, county council, can you draft up a letter of this? And perhaps it doesn't require a function of the board.
That's correct.
Okay. So yes, but I thought that's what you're trying to nail them on is you did something and nobody saw it.
It's not about Manor development, okay? Well, except for the fact that it's a political thing. It's about they're not telling us what's happening. It's been 3 weeks, okay? They don't want to tell us what's happening. They took a vote without really taking a vote, and they did it in executive session, which is illegal. And they gave instructions to Wally Hicks. Wally Hicks was in on that meeting. It's executive session. Of course he's in on the meeting. And they gave him instructions to do something. You were not allowed to give him instructions to do something during executive session. You can.
Okay, wait a minute. You can leave. You can only give an instruction to Wally after a vote has taken place of the commissioners? They can't just say, hey, Wally, we think you ought to rework the wording on this. I mean, does that have to be a vote?
I understand what you're saying. No, they can say to Wally, put together a draft. Okay, put together a draft letter, bring it back to us, and then we will make a decision in public about whether that's okay or not.
I mean, do they? Because listen, you're the expert on what the procedural thing is. Would they then have to go? Okay, everybody, look at this letter. Okay, let's have a roll call.
They don't do that.
That looks good. That looks good. I mean, do they? If they don't do that, then what's the hoopla?
Okay, I'm explaining.
What really?
Okay, I'm explaining it to you.
Okay. Perhaps I'm missing something here. This sounds like in order for me to issue a piece of paper. Yes. But if you don't mind, let me just clarify. Do I have to come to these guys every time I'm going to issue a piece of paper that is continuity of business?
No.
Listen,
I'm totally get
nailing them. Okay, but I mean, I totally get nailing them when they're stepping out of line on something, but it doesn't look like to me that that's what happened here. It looked like Larry, in a boneheaded move, said, we all made a decision and blah, 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 which leads you to believe, hey, wait a minute, did you guys take a vote on this? Well, perhaps they didn't need to, and perhaps it was a stupid thing that he said. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. That's certainly a possibility. The thing is that when they give instructions to Wally Hicks or any of their employees, they're not required to take a vote every time. I'm not saying that. I would really be stupid to say that. Of course they're not required to do that. But if they're going to say to Wally Hicks, we want you to put together this thing and bring it back to us and we'll look at it. When he brings it back to them and they look at it, then they're required to make a decision about whether they want it to go out the door or not. If they say, give it to Larry, and Larry will make the decision, he doesn't have to meet in a quorum. He's not an elected official. Right. And they could have done that, but they wanted to be involved in this. Apparently, they could have delegated it. He has the power to do so. And for somebody to say, you to say, anybody in our audience to say, Dale, you know, you're really off this time because it all turned out okay. That's not the point that it turned out okay. Of course it turned out okay. Kittens, sunshine, everything's wonderful. But they're violating the process because they do this on a fairly constant basis, and they're doing it more and more these days. This is linked in with the idea that they take a vote in the back room, and then they ratify that vote on Wednesday. As I said to Wally Hicks, what's this ratification of a vote thing? They've already taken a vote. You go into the Ann Basker, they read this thing to you, and then they ask you for your feedback. Why am I giving them feedback when they've already taken the vote? All they're going to do is ratify, whatever the heck that means. He doesn't even know what it means. I've asked him, what does this mean? Yeah, well, he's just shaking his head. It's the process.
And that's circumventing transparency, clearly. But
that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay. So if they want to bring it, they didn't need to do this. So they did not need to do this. If they want to bring it back and make a decision on something, okay. Then when you make the decision, don't say it's not a decision. That's disingenuous. When you make the decision, you do it in public like you're supposed to. Yeah. They're required to make their decisions in public. You don't want them to make their decisions in public? State law.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not saying that. Okay, but yeah, I'm not clear that, you know, that was a decision that, you know, a board needed to make or something.
I agree with you.
I'm just saying that he made a boneheaded move in saying, hey, they made a decision, and that put it into the realm of, hey, you know, were the proper procedures followed?
Right,
and,
but the other thing that happened, you're right, but it doesn't.
I don't know.
Oh, no, you're right, but it doesn't end there because they did make a decision. Okay, they didn't need to, but they wanted to. Okay, and because they wanted to, they have to do it in a certain way because otherwise it's not transparent. And it's important for them to be transparent, and I think they need to be stopped from making decisions in private. That's the entire point. That's the entire point.
And there's plenty of circumstances where that takes place without, you know, and listen, don't get me wrong here. I'm just saying, you know, there's plenty of clear cut, you know, it's like a sledgehammer in your face type incidences. This one here just looked like, you know, I don't know.
Well, he didn't misspeak. They did make a decision. Okay, it sounded bad because he said decision. Okay, they did decide. They did make a decision. That wasn't a mistake. He was right. They did make a decision. In my opinion, that's what happened. It's Cheryl that's saying, no, we didn't make any decision. And why did she say we didn't?
Yeah, because she wants to avoid showing up, you know, being part of the story again. I totally get that.
Right. And because there's one last thing out there. Well, it turned out okay, Dale. So what really do you think the law says? As long as it turns out okay, it's okay no.
Yes.
No, it's not okay. Don't do that. Just don't do that. And so for those who think, well, this is all about Manor development. No, it's not. That's just the trappings around it. That's just the outside edges. The core of the issue is stop making decisions. They did. Stop making decisions and lying and saying we didn't make a decision. Yes, you did. How did Wally Hicks know what to do? On the behalf of the board, not on the behalf of Larry. He knew what to do because they didn't make a decision. What? They just stared at him and they understood what they meant? No, they made a decision. They told him what to do. That's what they did. Okay. So we've got
two more
video that will explain the fourth video. So the third one is from the past, how they cannot continue to say something. I don't have my notes in front of me. The notes are gone.
Mm-hmm.
I can bring them back after the show, but that's not
let's
that
see here. Why Graves and Airport Board claim that there's no cost to the county?
Cannot.
Is that the one?
Cannot.
Oh, cannot. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yes.
Got the word cannot. So
it's small print.
So watch this carefully and see, and remember, the first meeting happened right after they took the vote, and the next meeting with J.J. Schofield, our favorite HR guy, explaining how much money this is going to cost us, and then you say to yourself, are they spending any money when they say they're not spending any money? Go ahead.
So, as you may recall, we signed a lease last night. We agreed to a lease last night with Manor Development Community Company, or Manor Community Development Company. I'll get that right someday. And that will be pretty significant for the airport department in that it's going to increase our workload a little bit for the management of all the new moving parts. There's going to be a lot of regulatory interfacing, and I'll be doing a lot more work with WH Pacific just to make sure that the engineering is happening just as it would be if we were doing this under an AIP grant. So what I'm asking for is an additional 60, but 30 of that is I'm already receiving 30 of that. Okay. So what I'm saying is, the impact of the budget as far as Schedule D, is about a 60K hit, and I'm willing to take the 30K that I already get for Illinois Valley and use it there for that staffing, and requesting the additional 30K for the staffing increase at Grants Pass Airport. So it's a net increase to the Economic Development Fund of 30K.
30.
Not.
The 30 is already designated.
I think we should have you on the same thing with this 40. So really what I am trying to grapple with, if that's okay with everybody, is just that additional 20. And I don't know if you need that just to get through this next fiscal year. You probably don't.
I don't need that for this next 6 months, but I'm trying to look at this as a more than 1 year or more than 6 months stopgap, and because I'd like to see how the lessee performs in the next year before I am comfortable committing all of my budget to that revenue.
Okay, so let's give this a year, in my opinion, and I think that's a long enough. There's going to be shovels on the ground and concrete pours and buildings going up. If there aren't those things, then we're going to need to address a different funding.
Sure, that's a very fair position to take. Yep, I agree.
Okay. So the ask is really for 30, not 40.
Right, and 15 really to get us through the next 6 months. I mean, yeah.
Well, yeah.
And on an annual basis, the ask is for 30. Yeah.
I'd like a 12-month. Yeah. We need to give people an opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Well, me too.
Who knows? Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen with other things that are out of our control.
So what change do we need to make on here?
The request is 30. So let's just, 40. Let's just make it 30, because your total need was 60 for a year.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So we're talking the same figures.
No, we're talking about reducing.
Because we have the
what we're
request.
talking about right now, the same figures, the 30.
I want to.
So we're looking at two different,
On his cover sheet, he's got a request
40
for 40.
Okay. Yeah, that was my preliminary throw it out there, and in thinking about, the remainder of this year's budget, because I would like this to take effect immediately, January 1st. So that was an aggregate figure.
Okay, so the amount is
30.
Okay. All right. So if you will.
That's additional over and above current. Yeah.
Okay. So we need to have the change document, and you can work with HR to get that taken care of after we take it to our meeting over here. Okay.
So maybe for next year's budget, we can already work in that they're going to be on the same level as everybody else at 40.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
Never understood what you were last.
That work?
Excellent. That worked.
Okay, all right.
Good.
Okay, did you get all that? Okay, all right, and we will put this on the agenda next Wednesday. And that's,
And though I would not be here, be it noted that I'm completely in support of this, if for no other reason than you're talking about people and trying to make plans with people, and there has to be some sort of dependable reason that they come to work every day, and what they've been doing is more than commendable. And there ought not to be seen as some sort of a temporary stopgap, but this is a bridge to what is to be producing.
Right.
That should be developed.
Clearly, once the development at Illinois Valley is running on all cylinders, there will not be this need.
Yeah.
Any questions? Clearly.
Oh yeah. Oh, I got questions.
He says at the end, clearly, once this development at the airport gets going, there won't be a need for this stopgap measure.
And I don't understand. Is he talking about $30,000 a year?
Extra, beyond what he's
Extra.
currently getting, yes.
Right. An additional 30,000, which is, that's a lot.
A lot to me.
How many employees are we breaking that up across here?
2.
Really? Okay. So that's another 15 grand a year. And apparently, if I follow that correctly, that started on the 1st, or he said I would like it to start on the 1st.
And it did.
Okay.
Retroactive.
So that means these guys are getting a whole lot more money, and they're not doing nothing. They're not doing anything more for it.
Not for Manor development. Now, so to be clear, what they're going to say is, well, that's for all the great work they've been doing. But you just heard Larry Graves say that clearly,
right.
He even used the word clearly.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So,
and he was talking about how we need, more hours.
Yes. And Keith couldn't agree more. So again, here's the point. They're going to say, well, this is for everything else other than Manor development, but that's not what they just said. And were they talking about money? I mean, they did use the word 30, so maybe 30 meant 30 grains of wheat. No, I don't think so. This is $30,000 more than what they currently get. And the other thing, for those really sharp among you.
Yeah, that's what it sounds.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, we can parse these words. Well, that's really, he's meant, angels on a pinhead. No, that's not what he meant. Pinheads maybe, but not angels. Look, in this case, what they've been saying again and again and again, and you guys have heard them, they've said this project with Manor development is not costing the county anything. Nothing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm not buying. And you know what? In the first piece of tape there, you could see almost this giddiness. Hey, we just signed the contract. That means we got more money coming in. So how can I get my hands on some of that money? And
you think it was an accident that he came in the next day saying, I need money?
No, of course not. And here's the thing. I think that encapsulates right there in that little teeny piece with Larry Graves coming in right after the money's coming in is why the county employees are such a core of cuffs and SOS, because they want the more money coming in, because then they can go ask their boss for raises and stuff like that, just like this guy does.
Okay, so let's take me apart and Mike a little bit, and let's look at it from a completely different point of view. Why Dale Matthews, what you don't understand is that we're only asking for long needed, not raises, long needed more money for hardworking people at the airport. And this really has nothing to do with Manor development. This is all about the work that they do. Would you please stop it? It's just a coincidence that Larry came in the next day saying, I'm going to be really busy. And in fact, he even said, well, probably not very much work. Although since then he said that he talks with them like every day or every week and all the time. And he's really busy with this project. He said that several times. And And then at the end, he sums it up that clearly we need this as a stopgap. Now, take me apart. Am I missing something here? Am I completely misconstruing this?
We need there's going to be so many more hours of regulatory interface.
Yes.
I will, at the end of the day, I will need a B12 shot every day. I mean, that's how much work I'm going to be doing.
All this regulatory stuff that Larry Graves is doing. Okay. I mean, I think it's part of his job, but what exactly are the maintenance guys that, take the broom out there and make sure? It's very important to make sure there's no rocks on the, what exactly are they doing?
Yeah.
What have they been doing?
And listen, if there's going to be a bigger load for them to do because of Manor development, name it. Let's hear what it is that they're doing.
What are their duties?
Yes, and how has Manor development and the more things that you have to do because of them impacted what you have to do for your job? Now name it right now.
Now, Mike Jones, you don't understand. We're telling you that there's not costing the county anything, and so you must believe us.
Okay, yes, but hang on a second here. I wrote down $30,000. That is not nothing. And listen, this was a case of Larry coming in counting the chickens before they hatched.
Yes,
is what was going on. And Simon, to his credit, was actually kind of putting the brakes on. He wanted 40. And Simon goes, well, hey, let's go 30, which I think is still crazy. Let them get off the ground. Let's quantify this, all this extra work that you're doing before we throw 30 grand at it. I mean, this is how nonchalant these people are.
Let's roll back to, you mentioned crazy. Let's go back to Crazy Dale from the first meeting. I'm saying you're a fiscal conservative because he tells everybody that he is. Larry Graves does. I said, when are you going to give this money back? Because they're not doing anything. And that was a month before all this. They're not doing anything. When are you going to turn the money back? And Cheryl's saying, next question. See, I probably look like really rude, like that Dale Matthews. He's such a rude guy. But you just saw this.
Oh, no, it's completely legit. And listen, transparency is okay. Can you tell me, please, what these people have been doing for this extra money? I mean, you've got two people. Now, is he one of the two people?
No.
Or is, okay, so is part of this money going to him?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, so it's
we don't know.
Two employees,
yes.
30 grand, that's 15 grand a piece.
That's correct.
Okay.
Because so they're doing what?
I don't know. So they went from 25 grand a year to 40 grand a year. Is that what happened?
Yeah, it kind of looks like it. Yeah. And yeah, Larry has made it clear. He told us in a previous meeting, I can't play all the meetings, stop it. Made it clear in a previous meeting that Manor Development, since signing of this contract, has not set foot on the airport property, has not suggested that they're going to do anything, has not paid any rent, and it's coming up on 6 months. 6 months. Now, please tell me what it is that these wonderful, wonderful guys that, clean up and, make sure that everything's nice and tidy and everything, what have they been doing to aid with the Manor Development project? They got the money because of that, or partly because of that. What have they done?
Yes, and what is and of course, if we're not going to say that this was Manor Development and the extra added workload from Manor Development, if we're not going to say that, then let's talk about the extra work that these guys have been working themselves to the bone, and let's talk about why that's worth another 15 grand a year. Now, this is assuming that there's two guys that are sharing this $30,000, and that may be completely in error.
It sure sounded like that's what they were saying. I mean, we try to figure out what's happening. You can't ask any questions. No questions are allowed. They used to be allowed, not anymore. Oh, brother, you're lucky you even hear it, which is back to my original point. We are lucky that we even hear it. many times they'll make these decisions. Remember when J.J. Schofield stopped coming in because they decided we weren't going to take this in front of the public anymore? What does that mean? It means they don't want to do it in front of me with the camera anymore.
Yeah. So how is it that they're going to hire people without being on record doing that?
Well, that used to be
and
that
give
they
them
were going to hire somebody, or they're pulling in somebody new to be head of a department, that all of those meetings would be open to the public so that we could see for ourselves and come up with a conclusion. Well, that same guy seems like kind of a lunkhead. We did that in the past with a guy that seemed really off. I mean, really seemed off. Well, as it turned out, he was a poor guy with multiple personalities. And he had two different names, and oh yeah, it was pretty awful, and they had to let that guy go right away. Well, after that happened, they never ever wanted us to see their vetting process, similar to, remember when the guy came in and he had this plan and he changed the contract as they were sitting there? That's the first and last time we're ever going to see a contract negotiation. They don't want us to see what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, of course, because we'll end up on BadCounty.com. You think?
Yes, quite probably.
Okay, so here's then the question for the final video. Okay, it is a house of cards. And so if you don't buy the first one, like Dale Matthews is completely dishonest, not that Mike Jones, I like him, but not that Dale, he's awful. If you buy that, then this one won't make any sense.
Who is this guy? I like him.
Right. Okay, so, or it might be the opposite. It's possible. There's all kinds of deluded people.
You never know.
So here's the question then to Keith Eck. Why do you keep saying this costing us nothing? And here is the way, if you have any doubts about the disgust that the commissioners feel about us in general, and me in particular, just watch the way that Keith Eck responds. Isn't this a legitimate question? Why do you keep saying, why does Larry and the board keep saying it's costing us nothing when we can see that it does? We have the tape. Let's watch this. This is great.
The commissioners and Larry Graves have said several times in public meetings that the county is spending no money on this project with Manor Development. However, that's not true. So why do you folks keep saying that?
Tell me some of the instances of where the money has been spent.
Really?
I'm asking you the question, so you're telling me you don't have an answer for
money. What money?
Oh, yeah, well, okay, if you don't know.
That's fine. If you don't know,
then,
if you don't have an answer,
I know, I'm just surprised.
Surprised that you have to provide an answer?
No, surprised that you're not answering. You know that Larry Graves came to you shortly after you decided to sign the contract, and he said he needed more money for his people, not a raise. I've been corrected on that. More hours. So why are you saying, since they have more hours, and since Larry Graves says that he's been speaking on a regular basis with Manor Development, why would anyone be saying specifically about the employees that the county is not spending any money on Manor Development?
Would you show me the connecting line between Manor Development and the airport workers?
That's what Larry Graves did.
You show me the line. You're the one bringing the question.
All right. Do you want me to bring you the videotape?
You don't have an answer.
Of course I do. I have it on tape.
Okay, well, what's the answer?
The answer is he said that we're going to be working with...
I didn't ask what he said. I'm asking you to provide me the answer so that I might be able to go, oh, okay.
I'm going to try to give you the answer.
Oh, so you don't have the answer.
Of course I have the answer.
Oh, you don't have it.
The answer is...
You don't have it with you.
Larry Graves said to you in an open public meeting that I taped that he needed more money for his people because of how much work they'd be doing about Manor Development. So my question to you, sir, is, you can laugh. My question to you is, why do you keep saying that no money is being spent on this when they're getting more money for Manor Development, which is not happening?
That is not true.
Okay. It doesn't make any difference if it's true or untrue. Dale has it on tape, and therefore it exists, and it's true.
Videotape can record you, sir. Videotape is capable of recording you.
I was talking, if you don't mind butting out as easy as you butt in, that would be appreciated. But there's no way that I can answer your question because your question comes as a hydra-headed thing, and you already have the answer, so it's a waste of time to answer.
It's a hydra-headed thing.
And it's a waste of time to answer. It's a waste of time to answer.
I suspect because of what we saw there that they're going to go with, well, you know, this doesn't have anything to do with Manor development. It's an airport thing.
That's right.
And that's kind of what Cheryl was saying in the background there. And it's like, yeah, okay, then why don't please you rationalize to me why these two people, if indeed it is two people, require 30 grand more money.
It is.
You know,
that's
15,000.
was talking about. Look, everybody knows. I mean, it's clear as day that Larry waited till the next day, the very next day after they signed this deal with Manor Development, which they probably shouldn't have. And instead of waiting to see if it turned out, he wanted raises, retroactive raises for his people right away.
Oh, and I'll tell you, this reminds me, the exact same thing happened in California the day that the lottery got passed in California. Immediately they dove on it. The union said, we want the raises right now. And they gave them the raises. And then guess what happened? Then the legislature or the rest of government there sandbagged them. And all the money that came in from the lottery, they gave that to the schools, but then they subtracted what they normally got out of the general fund, you know, to match the amount that the lottery brought in. So they didn't get nothing. You know, so it's that's kind of
did they get the raise? Did they get their raises? I'm trying to say, did they get their raises?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Yeah. You know what? I don't think they did. I mean, I think what they tried to get the raises, but then and then they thought they were getting the raises, but then the money wasn't there, so they didn't get the raises, and they were all very mad. Because they thought, hey, look, you know, the slush fund's coming to town. Yeah. Look, well, and Larry had the same look on his face. The slush fund is coming to town. And now that I brought the slush fund here, how about a little, you know, how about a little cup of slushy?
You know, this does remind me of the people who were saying, well, he didn't say devil worship. He said Satan worship. You know, really? We were given certain talents by God, most of us, not all of us, and we're supposed to be able to see these patterns and figure out what the heck is going on, because they're not going to explain it to you. They're just going to yell. Okay. And so it's really obvious what's happening. And I'm being extra careful because I know there's 5 reasons. No, there aren't. Let's be real. This was about giving these guys raises, and Larry was going to figure out a way to get a raise for his people. Okay. No matter what happened with Manor Development, doesn't matter whether they do it or don't. He wanted money, extra money for his little people, his empire, his whatever you want to call it. He wanted more money for them. They're not going to give this back. What are they doing? They're not doing anything extra for it, but they've got twice as much money. Really? They went from half-time to full-time.
Right.
2 of them.
Yeah.
To do what?
Yes.
Why pay them half-time when you could pay them full-time? Woohoo!
Right. Yeah.
Amount of work.
Right.
Anyway, that was supposed to be my point. I'm not sure it came across well, but I hope that it did. And there's people out there, well, you know, that Dale is right. And there's going to be people, well, no, he's totally wrong. He's not getting anything right at all. Okay, but then compare how I'm treated by this guy. Well, you obviously have it on tape, so, you know, it's just not worth trying to answer. Really?